Last time on Bleach Thousand Year Blood War, the conflict, Kyoraku reveals his plan of joining forces with Aizen in order to defeat Ewok. While there's opposition, wasting such a powerful aid wasn't an option anymore. Everyone then heads towards the R&D department to provide spiritual pressure so that a gate could be opened to the Soul Palace. Meanwhile, after regaining consciousness, Ichigo is stunned as Grimmjow appears at the Soul Palace. What's Yoriichi's real plan, and will Urahara and the others successfully open the gate? Let's find out in episode 6. The episode starts off with the Soul Reapers, the Quincy's, and everyone present in the Seirete presenting their spiritual pressure through orbs for the creation of the gate to the Soul Palace. However, all of a sudden, the rubble from the Wandenreich city starts rising up, being summoned by Ewok to the Soul Palace. Urahara realizes they didn't have much time and had to finish the gate quickly before things got too out of hand. Meanwhile, back at the Soul Palace, Ichigo and Grimmjow greet each other in their own way. Although their conversation gets cut short by Nell, who pounces on Ichigo after seeing him again after so long. As she tells Ichigo that she could now control shifting from her child to adult form, thanks to Urahara's new invention, Orihime stares daggers at the Arankar in front of her, oblivious that she was no more than a homewrecker to Orihime. Chad tries to defuse the situation a little while Grimmjow and Nell get into a little argument over who called the shots now that their ranking, set by Aizen, was no longer relevant. That's when a high voice from behind a box cuts them off, revealing Riruka, followed by Yukio as well. They all then head inside Riruka's box to fill Ichigo in on the plan, which apparently only he wasn't aware of, as Chad and Orihime had already been told by Urahara. Yoriichi explains that in the space existing between the Soul Society and the real world, the Precipice World, existed the Valley of Screams, which due to its different reishi space, which it had as a result of its different reishi structure, helped Urahara locate Riruka and Yukio. Now, using Riruka's box-forming ability and Yukio's dimension manipulation, they had trapped a small portion of the Valley of Screams inside this room, and were planning to use it to travel to the Soul Palace without having their spiritual pressure noticed, and thus mount a surprise attack on Ewok and the Quincy's. Back at the Seirete, the gate fails to form due to lack of spiritual pressure. Ukitake's absence was having a real toll on them. However, here to save the day is Kurotsuchi, who brings out his spiritual pressure amplifier, and the gate starts forming again. While Yoriichi further elaborates on their plan and tells Ichigo that they will head right where the Soul King was using a nail she had planted earlier, and if the Quincy's are still there, this will enable them to launch a surprise attack where Ichigo will use his strongest Getsuga on Ewok. In the meantime, everyone else would fend off the Quincy royal guards. Ichigo then asks Grimmjow why he was helping them, to which he replies, where would he kill him if Ewok destroyed Hueco Mundo? Around the same time, at the Soul King's palace, Ewok's new powers terrify even his own royal guards, as he provides a little demonstration by destroying the entire palace in an instant. Ewok then uses his newly acquired powers to rebuild their lost nation, using the immense reishi present in the surroundings. On their way to where the Quincy's were, Yukio announces that he won't be leaving the box as he wasn't obligated to risk his life since he was forced into this. Ganju gets into an argument with him over it, but Ichigo stops him and tells Yukio he had no problem with that. Moreover, Ichigo also tells Riruka to stay here, as her powers weren't suited against their enemies, and he would much rather they be safe, as they were their only way of getting away. Simultaneously, the gate to the Soul Palace is finally ready. Both parties then enter the Soul King's domain, although they get shocked when they find the Wandenreich cityscape all around. Yoriichi wonders if they had perhaps arrived at a wrong location when she finds the nail she had left by the Soul King there, confirming it was the right place. Ewok had completely remodeled the Soul Palace into a Quincy town in the matter of minutes, attesting to how incredible his powers had now become. Yushiro, the younger brother of Yoriichi, senses her spiritual pressure in the distance and starts to quickly head over to where she was. However, unable to make a foothold, he begins to plummet into the nothingness beneath, before getting caught by Renji at the last second. Byakuya speculates that the reason behind them not being able to make use of the abundant reishi present in the Soul Palace was because the enemy had control of it, which was not hard for someone who was capable of killing the Soul King. Soifon also chimes in regarding the absence of the Soul King's presence, fearing the worst. Cool as always, Kyoraku quickly rationalizes that even if the Soul King was dead, he could still sense Ichigo and the others, which meant that not all hope was yet lost. Offering some words of encouragement, Kyoraku quickly boosts the morale of his party so they could do the task at hand. All of a sudden, an enormous castle erects from the ground, making it clear that Ewok and his forces were not shy to take on anyone who opposed them. Considering the castle a foundation of the new world, Ewok names it Warwelt. Jugrim pledges to eliminate every single one of the enemy intruders that had appeared around Warwelt so that the future Ewok had seen through his eyes could be realized. Episode 7 begins with Ewok ordering his royal guards to go show the intruders a nice welcome for trespassing on their sacred Warwelt. Unable to wait any longer, when the enemy was practically welcoming them into their stronghold, the Soul Reapers decide to make their move, while the estranged Quincy's part ways at that point, stating they had no reason to work together or follow orders from the Soul Reapers anymore now that they were here. Ichigo's group, sensing the Soul Reapers heading towards the castle, also decides to follow suit. Urahara notices Kurotsuchi was not among them, while at a different point in the royal palace, the gate opens again, revealing Kurotsuchi and Nemu coming out of it. Kurotsuchi had intentionally gone after everyone else to ensure he could test his experiments without any interference. However, he forgot to factor in one variable into his great plan. Kenpachi Zaraki, the captain of the 11th squad, who wasn't with the first group as he was using the toilet. Unfortunately, poor Yamada had also gone to the washroom around the same time and now was stuck with them. Kurotsuchi and Kenpachi butt heads for a brief moment before Kenpachi takes off with Yumichika and Ikkaku, with Yamada following behind as well, while Kurotsuchi and Nemu go their own way. Unable to get in contact with the others because of the strange reishi, Chad points out that since they were after the same enemy, they were bound to meet each other eventually, while Grimjaw believes that greater numbers meant less mobility and darts ahead after spotting Naklavar. Grimjaw pounces on him, landing a massive blow that crumbles the building he stood on instantly. Meanwhile, Valkyrie announces out loud to all Soul Reapers to come take him on at the same time, while Bazard and the rest plan to settle it their own way with Ewok, and especially Jugrim. Naklavar, undamaged by Grimjaw's attack, takes off like a little cockroach running away from an impending slipper. Grimjaw runs after him, asking him to stop and fight. Naklavar offers to join forces with Grimjaw as they were both enemies of Ichigo, but Grimjaw refuses, and the two continue their little cat-and-mouse chase. Naklavar then throws a strange-looking orb at Grimjaw, calling it a gift, which Grimjaw immediately slices in half with his claws. However, he suddenly falls down paralyzed all of a sudden, as Naklavar confesses that the gift was actually poison, reminding Grimjaw to never take anything from strangers. Barrow takes aim at the Soul Reapers below with his sniper while being hidden away in a tower. Targeting those who were more isolated from the rest, he takes his first hit at Hisagi, followed by Umaeda, Kiyone, and finally Isane. Kyoraku orders everyone to keep advancing. As he's trying to get out of plain sight, Renji gets attacked by familiar-looking arrows all of a sudden. Everyone then immediately recognizes the spiritual pressure belonging to them. It was Ishida. Ishida tells Renji that the age of the Soul Reapers was now over, and a new age was beginning from this very Warwelt, led by Ewok. Renji asks Ishida if he met with Ichigo earlier, to which he replies that he killed him, or so he thought, as he ended up surviving. Having gotten his answer, Renji takes on Ishida, planning to go after the castle and Ewok right after. Releasing his new and improved Bankai from the get-go, Soo Zabimaru, Renji demonstrates his conviction. He shoots Zabimaru at Ishida, blazing red-hot, and destroys multiple buildings behind Ishida in the process. Ishida dodges narrowly and jumps into the air to launch Lich Regen on him. Using the defensive characteristics of Hihio, Renji blocks the downpour of arrows on him. Renji then retaliates by grabbing Ishida, throwing him down, and holding him there to hit him with Zagatepo. But to Renji's surprise, Ishida remains unfazed and quickly rises up as he finally decides to tap into his new powers as well. Ishida then turns the tables on Renji as he displays his new deadly powers, but Renji manages to subdue him using Hi Tensho. Renji then tells Ishida he'll need just 20 seconds to settle this as he recalls his training with Ichibei, where he learned to keep adding his spiritual pressure into Zabimaru for at least 20 seconds. Having perfected it now, Renji brings down the chaotic wrath of Zagaizeko, a spinning ball of flames, onto Ishida. Meanwhile, Kurotsuchi and Kenpachi notice the ongoing battle between Ishida and Renji as it reaches its climax. Kurotsuchi is unimpressed by the display of unintelligible spiritual pressure use, although he understands why Kenpachi would be impressed, since that was exactly what he did as well. Around the same time, Naklavar tells Grimjaw he wouldn't have ended up like this had he listened and joined forces with him. But before Naklavar can bring down the final blow on him, Ichigo drops in. Renji approaches Ishida, who is lying at the center of the massive crater left by Zagaizeko, when all of a sudden Ishida starts collecting reishi from the surroundings and quickly heals completely as though nothing happened. Considering Renji's hesitation to finish him off, what'll lead to his defeat, Ishida brings forth Fetterswinger on Renji, a technique that can extract the spiritual pressure of anything within its confinement. Ishida drains Renji out of his spiritual pressure, rendering him unable to use his Bankai again. However, unwilling to admit defeat, Renji calls upon Soozabimaru and releases Hikatsu Taiho in a last-ditch effort to take out Ishida. But Ishida slices through Renji's final attack and finally takes out the unyielding Soul Reaper as he drops down on the ground. Ishida then states the 3 reasons why Renji lost. Firstly, he was subconsciously trying not to kill him. Secondly, he didn't know his powers. And thirdly, and most importantly, he was a Soul Reaper that he despised. Stay connected, like and subscribe for more fun recaps on one and only Endless Recaps.